Can I be your superhero? Superhero.
What is up everybody, my name is Zen and recently I bought the iPhone 6s. So obviously I watched a lot of YouTube videos on that because I was confused between three of the devices: iPhone SE, iPhone 6s and Samsung Galaxy S7. So first of all, I ditched the iPhone SE from my list after watching a couple of YouTube videos because every YouTuber was saying that iPhone SE is way too small, it's only for limited demographics, so Apple might never release a phone with that small of a display. Now the iPhone SE was out of my list. So Samsung Galaxy S7 was a good option, but I didn't went for that because I was willing to use iOS for the first time and try this thing out. So finally I bought the iPhone 6s for around $200 or 23,000 PKR for 32GB variant, and in this video I'm going to let you guys know that is iPhone 6s worth your $200. So if you want a short answer, then the answer is yes, the iPhone 6 is totally worth for most of the users. But what if you are not included in those most of the users? Then you have to watch this whole video. So this video is divided into 6 parts. I'm gonna talk about battery, build, camera, display, performance, and in the 6th one I'm calling it others. So in that part I am talking about speakers, fingerprint scanner, and a couple of more. Alright, so let's start with the battery. And you may have heard that the iPhone batteries are awesome, their standby time is good, which is somewhat true. The standby time is amazing, but the battery life on the Plus variants is more incredible than onto the smaller variants. Not incredible, good. Alright, so battery itself is 1715 mAh, and if I talk about charging, then I have personally noticed that from 0 to 70% the battery charges really quickly, but from 70 to 100% it takes time to charge. And from my experience I can say that the time it takes from getting 0 to 70 is same as from getting 70 to 100%. So if you are using your iPhone 6s normally, then this battery can last you a full day, but I can kill this before the day ends. Right, so now I am talking about the build quality of the iPhone 6s, and it is similar to the iPhone 6, but the build material has been improved and Apple has used 7000 series aluminum for this iPhone 6s, which is used to prevent bend gate from the previous iPhone. Now in my unit, all of the buttons including home button, power button, volume rockers, all are clicky and tactile, but I don't really know about any other unit, so my unit is fine. Alright, so now I'm talking about the display, and the display size is 4.7 inches. So previously my daily driver was having a 5.7 inch of screen size, and now I'm using 4.7, so it has been decreased, but now I can use my phone finally with my one hand. It's not a big deal for you I guess, but it's a big deal for me, and I find this thing good. So the display resolution is 1334 by 750, giving it 326 pixels per inch, which is not really bad, but if you compare this thing side by side to a good panel, then you will feel that you are lagging behind. So the panel is IPS, which means the colors are not that sharp, but Apple has added a feature in settings called increase contrast, and you can toggle the switch on so the colors will pop a little more. Alright, so this iPhone was the first iPhone to include 3 touch, and I gotta say it's not a gimmick. I think if I move from iPhone 6s to any other device which do not have 3 touch, then I will really miss it, so you know it's useful for me. Alright, so there is one thing I really want to address in the display department, is that if you are using this in this direct sunlight, then you will have problem seeing the display, because that thing happened to me yesterday and immediately I thought that yes, I'm gonna include this thing in video. So yes, and talking about the viewing angles, they are all good, and yes, they are okay. Alright, so now we are talking about the camera, because that is the most important feature I look in every smartphone whenever I am buying a new phone. So the feature which impresses me of this camera is that I can shoot 120 frames per second on 1080p, which is like amazing. So you can shoot videos on 4K 30 frames per second, 1080p 120 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second, 1080p 30 frames per second, and then 720p at 240 frames per second. So that's really good. But this the iPhone 6s do not have OIS, but the iPhone 6s Plus have it. So yeah, Now I am shooting this whole A-roll with the iPhone 6s, so you get the idea how is the video quality at 1080p 30 frames per second. So overall the camera is really good. If you are a camera person, then you will be editing the photos, I guess. So you have to watch my Instagram feed, and my top 3 posts are taken from the iPhone 6s and a little bit edited. Alright, so there is a thing called live photos, and for me it's a gimmick. I don't use it. I have turned this thing off, but you can turn it on, and yes, this works with 3D touch. So yeah. Alright, so now I'm gonna talk about performance, and the chip inside iPhone 6s is Apple A9 dual core processor paired with 2 gigs of RAM, and the performance is snappy on 11.4, iOS 11.4. Apple has said in WWDC that iOS 12 will increase the performance of every iPhone, so it's a good news for me. One advice that I would like to give you guys is that if you're buying iPhone 6s, then go at least with 32 gigs variant. That is the variant which I have gone with. Don't buy 16 gigs variant because 16 gigabyte is really less. So now we are talking about fingerprint scanner, speaker, and the alert slider. Alright, so fingerprint scanner on iPhone 6s is really fast. It is the 2nd generation fingerprint scanner, and I am impressed. But I have a complaint for fingerprint scanner is that my fingerprint scanner do not work when my hands are wet or sweaty. So if you are a guy with sweaty fingers like me all the time, then this fingerprint scanner will not work for you. But when my hands are dry, the fingerprint works really well. So now let's talk about the speakers. Now I have came from a device which was having front firing 2 speakers. So I think after using that, iPhone 6s speakers are completely trash. Now don't get me wrong, the speakers are, I think they are good for you, but I am coming from a device, as I told you earlier, which was having front firing speakers, so I think they are not up to the mark. And another thing which I really like about iPhone is that the alert slider, because it is too convenient to just pull out your phone and then without unlocking your phone you can turn your phone silent. It's amazing. Alright, so that was the video, and I hope you found the answer of does iPhone 6s worth in 2018 for you or not. With that being said, I'm signing out, and peace.